Well, I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired for my last job. Hot-wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Beat my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash, Brent, glad you're all here. Tuesday morning, special guest coming in. Should be an interesting conversation. Let's get right to it. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerlam Hay Feed and Ranch Services. Stop on by. See Jackie Parsons at Deerlam. And
I'm here for you.
Hummingbird feeders, nectar, all the things you need to attract hummingbirds to your yard. If you don't have flowery plants that will attract them naturally, they've got it. Was visiting my daughter over the weekend. She's got a couple hummingbird feeders. I believe she picked them up at Deerlam Feed, and they're fun. Hummingbirds are fun to watch.
Okay, so they're fun, but if you only have like 2 oak trees in your backyard,
yeah.
Are you getting any benefit from the hummingbirds, or are they just cute and fun and they're fun to feed? I don't know.
I think you keep them. Well, they get the nectar from the plants, and they've got to play a role in keeping plants healthy and pollination, right? I don't know what they're exact, but yeah. 69 degrees in Victoria right now under mostly clear skies, headed to a height of 90 today.
P. Strauss, no straightening you out. Now it can be told, now that I know I was correct. I was hunting with our sheriff, so I felt comfortable that we were legally hunting. Otherwise, he probably would have taken me into custody at the very least. You don't think you could have like a dove season? It's okay for me, but not for thee. I guess it could happen.
I think you could.
You sure could.
Yeah, I'm sure they do somewhere. I'm sure if
is that true?
It is
something
now.
Like that. Enlightened one. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by Woodrow Wilson Wagner, the most unlikely of Wade and Carter regulars, because for years we were told that we were in an impasse with Woodrow, that Woodrow was a huge leftist, that Woodrow, was one of the many, well, there's not many, but one of the ignorant, elitist Democrats.
I wouldn't call him one of the hateful eight, but he was
like their mentor. And what Woodrow did, and we won't belabor it with him here, but what Woodrow did was he tried to wake the woke and get them to understand that if you try to run for local office in Victoria County and you try to run on the national Democrat platform, you're pro-Planned Parenthood, you're pro-abortion in our community that's 65 or 70% Catholic, right? You're for gun control in the Deep South, then you're an idiot and you're unelectable. Nobody's going to vote for you. At the end of the day, Victoria County is not going to vote for somebody who says, I want to take your guns, I want to help your daughter, your son transition into being a girl, and I want to abort your grandkids. That's not getting elected here. These are just outlying idiots.
Well, but here's the problem with them trying to run on anything but that platform now.
Well, they don't have anything else to offer.
And we know who they are. We know they're liars. So
right.
There's no way they could walk that back at all.
So what I respected and what endeared, if it endears, does like, for example, I imply, you infer. I don't infer something to you. That's okay. So if it endears, does it endear me to him or him to me? It endears. It's
you
on
to him,
my
I
end.
think. Yes.
So
he just tolerates you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we're friends on my end. But what it showed me was his character. Woodrow came out as a man of faith and said, look, I believe I'm Catholic. I'm not Catholic, but he is. And he says, I feel strongly in my faith. I can no longer shepherd a flock that wants to go down these rabbit holes, because unashamedly, he admitted, as Democrat Party chair, my job is to get people elected. His job was not to somehow change people's minds or get you to believe something you didn't want to believe. His job was to get people elected. And he said, it has become impossible because of folks like the Hateful Eight, the dried up, shriveled up, old hippie women standing out on the corners, holding signs.
Well, they've become so divisive within their own party. They're trying to blame the country and the right as being the divisive ones in this country.
If you're a gray-haired grandmother, 68 years old, with a blue streak in your gray hair, and you're holding a sign that says, my body, my choice, how about it? You ought to hold a sign that says, my body, everybody passes. Just shut up and go crochet. Nobody wants to hear that. Certainly not in Victoria County, and thank God for that. So we will visit with our friend, Woodrow Wilson Wagner, a voice of reason that does not see politically eye to eye with me. Guess what? Neither one of us are in danger. It's a civil discourse, and it's a beautiful friendship, and I can't wait to have him on the air.
Stephanie Connie, Scott Snow, Greg Garcia on the podium this morning. Good to see you all, whether you're listening on Magic 95.9, watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook. Thanks for checking in. Mark Kurtz, Scott Tomko, Ricky King, Rini
Scott
Stera.
Tomko on the losing end of an Astros butt kicking last night. Barely.
Andy Rockovich, Marvin Mickish, Matt Boucher, Bobby Leister, Jordan Glass, Micah Patton, Linda Christ, Mark Cepeda, Tammy Keeling, Judge Posey, Justin Glass.
Love you, P. Strauss. Gig 'em.
P. Strauss, thank you for straightening on the Dove season. We're looking at the White Wing days.
Yeah,
the
the regular season open on Sunday.
Monty Howard, good morning. Lisa Poole, Cody Bauman, Bill Buckert.
That guy sounds familiar. Bauman. You know him?
I think name sounds real familiar. I might have to check out his profile and figure out if I know him or not. Might be friends on Facebook.
Could be.
Buddy Stevanoa, Robert Zaveski, good morning. John Anderson, Tammy Williams, Andrew Alvarez, Heather Stewart. Greg Garcia says Woodrow was in a no-win situation, made the right decision to leave a sinking ship because woke is doomed, and thank goodness. Yeah, I think it is. I really do think that's kind of where we're going politically.
I think
this started with
the rise of a new party. Has Elon said anything more about bringing up that? He'd be great to bring it up, call it the 80 party. Because, we all kind of agree that there's 80% of us that kind of hang right here. We're like this. I may be left of you, but I mean, like you and I, let's say that you considered yourself more progressive, and I'm more, moderate, whatever makes me feel good about. I'm a little bit right of you, and you're a little bit left of me.
You're a little bit rock and roll. I'm a little bit country.
Right.
Donnie Marie.
Right. We just don't have as many teeth. Anyway.
Or siblings.
Right. It's just Mormons. Be fruitful and multiply. I think what happens is, like, it's back to the old days, right? We both agree in the same kind of outcome. How do we get there? How much government involvement is there? But we don't get bogged down in the fascist side, which, by the way, just is a total misuse of that term. The left doesn't understand what fascism is.
They are the fascists.
But the extreme right that you would consider being violent or willing to kill the left, or the extreme left, where if I say extreme left and immediately transgenderism doesn't pop into your head, LGBTQ initiatives, all the just stupid stuff, singling out the oddities, the weirdos, and the mentally ill, and trying to give them some kind of special rights just because they happen to be weird. That to me, that's the extreme left. And
which is now the mainstream left.
Right. That's exactly where I was going. The oddity of the left has become the face of the left. That's the truth. That is the truth. Bill Booker, you're correct, sir. I'm not pretty enough to be Marie Osmond.
Or pretty enough to be Donnie.
Well, Donnie's still very pretty. A lot of face work, I think. By the way, Marie Osmond's best song ever is with
Dan Seals, Meet Me in Montana.
Yes, you are so correct, sir. Thank you. May I have another? That is so true. Her harmony on that is so spot on.
Their emotion in that song.
Well done. And she kind of hanks it up a little bit, you know. Great song. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sherry Jacobs checking in. Melissa Hanson, good morning. Good morning, Jarrett McCrugan, my cousin.
Pretty much every day you remind me why we
do this show.
Absolutely. And I love you like a brother.
Finishing your sentences now. We're like an old married couple.
Like a brother. Yeah. And like an old married couple, we never have sex. Andrew Alvarez, what Brent is saying is exactly why so many old school Democrats say the Democratic Party left them and they didn't leave the Democratic Party. We didn't cross the border. The border crossed us. Remember that? Magic 95.9. Welcome in, people. We love you. Woodrow Wilson Wagner is a great guy, has a lot of political knowledge. He's someone you could bounce ideas off of while getting a positive feedback. Adam Daughtry, soundbite of the day from young Adam. Welcome, friend.
So Donald Trump files $15 billion with a B defamation lawsuit against the New York Times and Penguin Publishing, by the way. It wasn't just the New York Times. Times, of course, not responding to the AP and their request for a comment, as that's where I'm reading this story from today. $10 billion defamation that he's filed against the Wall Street Journal as well back in July, saying that their attacks on him prior to the 2024 election is why.
Well, that's quick.
He filed the lawsuit.
Not the 2020 election.
No.
Whoa, that's quick.
Yep. Defendants published such statements negligently with knowledge of the falsity of the statements and or with reckless disregard of their truth or falsity, according to the last two
parts of that. The negligently is one thing, but if he can prove that they knew that what they were saying was false and or with reckless disregard for what they should have known, he's going to have some leverage with the New York Times. The greatest defense against libel or slander is the truth.
Yeah.
If what I say about you is true, deal with it. So if you're a public figure, you've got to find a way to prove damages. Trump, all he's doing, folks, is throwing back in the face of those who attacked him. That's it. Now, is it retribution? No doubt. But guess what? If you're the most powerful man in the world, you might as well.
Is he going to end up settling like he did with, what was it, CBS?
I'll settle today for $10 billion. Hey, I'll walk away.
He also sued Penguin because of a book they published earlier, or I guess last year, Lucky Loser, How Donald Trump Squandered His Father's Fortune and Created the Illusion of Success.
Well, you better be able to prove it. Yeah. You better prove that he squandered. Let's define squandered and work our way back from there. Very interesting. I've heard it said that, that Trump isn't, the multi-billionaire, that some of it is an illusion, kind of the fake it till you make it. But the idea that they say Donald Trump has been bankrupt 4 times.
I mean, if that's all they're highlighting in that book,
I don't think
you could call that squandering.
But I don't think that. I think here's the problem. Donald Trump owns multiple companies and LLCs, and if 4 of those went bankrupt, I mean, that doesn't mean that the man personally is broke. He sure has put a lot of money into Mar-a-Lago, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Israel launching a ground offensive overnight into Gaza City.
They're wrapping that up. They're going to kill everybody.
The BBC yesterday morning and this morning seems to run the same loop of a stationary camera along the beaches of the Mediterranean, I'm assuming. And what that video tends to try to show is just how stark the contrast is between the beauty of the water and the beach and the people fleeing that area, the refugees, But what I can't help but also notice is how Hamas completely screwed up what Israel gave them 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the media completely and complicitly will not report on that.
I mean, Israel even went in and took, trust me, the Jews are a lot more serious about their dead than we are. Went in and removed bodies, said, here, we're going to give it all to you. We're going to take away what you might think taints this land, our dead friends buried here. We're going to dig them up and we're going to move them so that your land is no longer tainted by dead Jews.
At our expense.
At our expense.
And
gave them the land.
And we're going to leave you all the infrastructure, the schools, the hospitals, the factories, the, because it is where it is, greenhouses for all sorts of produce.
Yeah.
Gone, squandered. But Hamas continues to want to blame Israel. Ariel Sharon, you could argue this probably is what cost him his life in walking away from that strip of land and giving it all to the Palestinians and Hamas.
Good morning, Mom. You know, they talk about, or the videos that you always see of the Gaza Strip. It always shows a bunch of rubble and some smoldering buildings. But you saw the video with me yesterday and this morning of the people leaving, and the beachfront is like amazing. No wonder Trump, I mean, it is like the most beautiful kind of white sand beach. The Mediterranean is just this beautiful blue, just lapping up onto the shore. And you're like, when Trump says, you had it all. Did he pass?
Yeah, apparently 89.
Terrible loss.
Just turned 89 last month.
There, that guy and Elvis. Right? That's about the same time frame.
Yep.
Robert Redford passed away, folks. Ash is reporting. I don't see an update that shows that he died.
Right there, New York Times reporting it.
There he goes. Dies at 89. First thing that always jumps into my head with Bobby Redford, close. We were close. Is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I think he was just.
Is that his first movie?
Phenomenal. 1969. So you had Robert Redford. Of course, in 73, he did The Way We Were with Barbara Streisand. The liberal synergy there was incredible. But Robert Redford personified, right? Men were proud to say, I'm a man when they looked at a guy like Robert Redford. Am I wrong? I mean, super dashingly good looking. I think about him and Elvis at that period of time were fairly enough sexuality personified. We don't have that now. We have Marilyn Manson and that dude that did the Bud Light commercial. But who's a man today? Don't tell me The Rock. Who's left? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking.
Jelly Roll.
Does anybody jump to the fore? Men in this country have been emasculated. The media, every TV show, education, white Christian employed men are the scourge of the earth.
Started in TV on Alfred Hitchcock Presents in the late 50s or 60s, early 60s, was on stage in the late 50s, was on Broadway. And his film debut was War Hunt in 1962, but it was
Barefoot in the Park, which Cassie Sundance
That's
Kid,
probably the one that really gets him.
Jeremiah Johnson, The Candidate, The Sting, reunited with Paul Newman. A great combo. Paul Newman, also another face jock from the 60s and 70s.
All the President's Men, The Electric Horseman, The Natural, one of my favorite
3 Days of the Condor. He was something.
Directed A River Runs Through It with what Benny said was his heir apparent, even though no relation, Brad Pitt.
He was in Captain America, The Winter Soldier as recently as 2014 and Avengers Endgame in 2019. I don't mean this facetiously. It's too easy to say he will be missed. That's not the point. The point is he lived so well. So hats off, Cool Hand Luke. Yes, that was Cool Hand Luke, of course, was Paul Newman. But great movies, great videography.
Morning, Mom. Morning, Marina.
Right, now, Woodrow said he's here, but where is he?
Locked out, maybe?
He can't be locked out. We didn't lock the door. Of course, he's a Democrat at heart. He could be struggling. He needs you to open the door for him. That's what it is. Deep in his soul, Woodrow Wilson Wagner, still a Democrat, still needs a hand up. He needs someone to open the door for him. And I say that not only tongue-in-cheek, but before we empower his microphone, because I know that he has a witty retort. Ash,
Funky Trey Molina checking in.
do a quick break.
I will. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. September 25th, we will be there for Wade and Carter nights. Come on out. Get there early, 6:45, 7. Enjoy some food and all the fun that we have pre-bingo because we get shushed. USA Concrete Coatings, division of USA Foundation Repair. They can do your foundation, but they can also make your drab slab and transform it into something spectacular. Veracruz pre-Caldo Wednesday is today. That means it's Tuesday. Everything on the menu but Caldo. Get by there. Check it out today. The chopping block has a lot going on.
I went by yesterday. Let me tell you what's great about the chopping block is you go in and you create a free account.
Yeah.
So I put in my phone number. They had $14.99 a pound ribeyes.
They still do.
Right. And I bought some. And when I got to the checkout, you'd already earned a free ribeye.
Nice.
So I did that. I also bought these little chicken bombs that are, the chicken breast that we make them at home, but they were $3.99 a pop, and I didn't want to get all gooey over $3.99 a pop.
$5 a pound chicken breast, $3 a pound ribs. You're not going to find that. And later this week, the Barbacoa Boudin will be back. I think Junior Samples might have been responsible for selling that out.
Yeah, he sold it all out.
He bought every single one of them. Melissa Hansen says Thor and the Rock Reacher are the only men. What's interesting with that?
Reacher's
they're
huge liberal.
But they're all fake.
Yeah, where are the men? Is Tom Cruise now our ideal of? I mean, when you look back at masculinity, and Woodrow's
Bill
here,
Booker
he's
says
too
Charlie
young.
Kirk was truly a man.
He's too young to remember, but I watched the 1968 Elvis comeback special. Dude, Elvis in the black with the leather with the cuff on his arm. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Yep. And he oozed sexuality, not in a bad way. He oozed masculinity. He was a man.
He was.
And they're just, you can't find them because the media has suppressed those people. They're not designed to be with us anymore.
Well, think about what happened. Think about what happened last month when what's her name, who stunned everybody at the Emmys in a red dress, decided to don jeans for American Eagle, and look how, or whichever company it was.
That was a big deal, but now we can't even remember who it was now. That's how quick the world changes.
Oh,
yeah. That's Sydney Sweeney. There you go.
Yeah,
he knows.
you.
He's got the poster. Woodrow's got the poster up in his room.
I do. I couldn't remember her name, but I mean, but think about how badly the left tried to cancel her because she was too much of a woman.
Yeah, too much of a
in
woman.
Jeans.
Too voluptuous, too curvy, but yet the models are too skinny. Victoria's Secret went back to the skinny models. Then Sydney Sweeney was too curvy. I don't know. I guess if she had gray hair and a purple streak in it, they'd love her. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning and happy anniversary, Brett.
Thank you very much. I am very, very blessed to be subject.
Let me add this.
A subject of the great T-Lat. She takes care of me. Oh yeah, we're putting this on here. Woodrow Wilson Wagner. We've dubbed you Chair, Victoria County Independent Party.
Oh, excellent.
I don't even think there's such a party.
You know what they say? Independence, party of one. Independence, party of one.
Is there a pay raise with that?
Right. Yeah. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Absolutely.
How are you, friend?
I'm good. It's good to see you all again. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. There's a lot being said the last few days.
And a lot being said.
Well, I think y'all have done a very nice job of having very important and necessary conversations.
You are
as always.
Natalie clad this morning.
Well, to teach
You have to
later.
teach
So,
them.
We don't want to mix business with pleasure, though.
Absolutely.
No,
we
that's
won't,
fine.
But yeah, but we won't.
But thank y'all for the willingness to engage these very difficult topics, because there are some radio and TV programs that are just avoiding it.
Right.
Let's not talk about it. We don't talk about Fight Club. Let's sweep it under the rug. But I applaud y'all. For
Some of them
taking
seem
the
to
time
gravitate
do
to one side or
Absolutely.
the other.
And that's what happens. And that, Brent, is what's absolutely killing us. If we can't have dialogue and be disagreeable without having these personal attacks, then I think the democracy's over.
100%.
And worse than that, I mean, assassination attacks on those. And what I find appalling is all the people that came out on the left right away. Well, we don't know who's doing this. No, we really know who's doing this.
We got Jarrett McCregan, a great source, a great Canadian, says that there was a large vigil for Charlie Kirk in Calgary, and the media either ignored it or reported that a few hundred were there when there were probably 10,000 plus. I wanted to tell you,
I saw an independent video of it.
Did you by chance come across the official statement by Bernie Sanders regarding the democracy, the need for civil discourse, and the Charlie Kirk situation?
I hadn't heard it till you mentioned it yesterday.
It was fantastic,
and
wasn't
so
it?
This is another example. Brent, you and I don't vote the same way, but you said that, and then I went and looked it actually up. And you're exactly right. If Bernie Sanders can condemn this act without the whataboutisms, without the buts,
that's right,
then why can't our local chair of the Victoria Democratic Party do that?
Is there one? Because we tried to look it up and could not find it.
Is there a chair of the local
Democratic
Democratic
Jewel
Party?
Buchanan serves as the chair of the Victoria County Democratic Party. And if you read her Facebook, it's all about, well, the shooter was indoctrinated by MAGA.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what matters here, who the shooter was. What about this husband and this father that was murdered? Their response, Brett, well, he was a monster. He was a Nazi. He was a fascist.
Yeah, and that's why the Democrats have no legs left.
Let me just say, if he's such a fascist and a Nazi, Brett, then why is Obama? Why is Clinton? Why is Harris? Why is Jeffries? Why did they all release favorable statements about him? Are they Nazi sympathizers?
Right, exactly.
This is when that rhetoric just totally toxifies our politics, right? We start calling people Nazi. We start calling people totalitarian. When does it end? And I'm trying, like you, Brett, to engage people on social media, but you start to realize that people are locked in.
No, that's
their heels are dug in.
I read
They're
a
not
nice
open.
quote. A nice quote the other day that made me think. It said, "They don't kill people because they're Nazis.
Right.
They call them Nazis so they can kill them."
Well said.
And that is a terrible, terrible place in our nation.
You look at the history of political assassinations. Martin Luther King at some point in his life was called a Nazi. Robert Francis Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. The list goes on and on and on. And you start to realize that I try to do this with my students with a political science class to say, you know who the real Nazis are? Nazis,
That's
Hitler, right?
That's
a
exactly
really high threshold, Brent, for genocide and totalitarian rule, the likes of which I don't think we're seeing in Charlie Kirk and other people who are assigned that moniker. So
he was never
really
even in
sickening.
office. How could he have
So-
that control over people?
So
when
was
he never in
Hitler?
office?
Was Hitler a nationalist socialist with a side of genocide, or if you believe that the state should control the means of, that you want to be, are you automatically anti-Semitic? Couldn't you, in theory, politically believe as a Nazi without being anti-Semitic?
I don't know about all that.
I don't.
All I know is that Hitler was any means necessary.
That's right.
And to me, that's a moral line that you, Ash, others of us are not willing to cross. Charlie Kirk certainly didn't.
No,
cross
he
that
was
line.
a gentleman.
So when people assign these labels, it inflames the rhetoric. It makes it worse. And it gives ingredients and atmosphere for the next terrible event. So,
Andrew Alvarez says these days Nazi and racist have no meaning, or at least they don't carry any weight. And I agree. The words have been so overused and weakened as a result. they no longer carry the weight they once did. And nobody really understands what a Nazi is, or what a racist is, or what a white supremacist was.
So well said. Our students specifically, Ash, are becoming desensitized. They hear these all the time. So when they do study Hitler, when they do study all these totalitarian regimes, they don't blink an eye. And that's the real damage being done here. Saying that Charlie Kirk was on the same level as Hitler.
Yeah, it's just absurd.
I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
There's a comment here that says, Junior Sample says, I'm curious about the League of Women Voters, the head of it, which is Glenda Nickel, and her venomous comments, as well as her daughter on Facebook. I want to tell you all, I'm going to tell all you folks, I had a very thoughtful conversation with Glenda Nickel. She is the mother of Glenda Nickel, and Glenda Nickel very thoughtfully explained to me that the League of Women Voters does a lot of good work, and that her words, my daughter is passionate and more liberal. So Glenda Nickel is
don't confiscate the two.
Yeah, don't add them
obfuscate
together.
The two.
I'm not defending either position. I don't know either Ms. Nickel. I know the younger one went to school with my kids, so I greatly discount her political acumen. But I'll tell you that Glenda Nickel, as the head of the League of Women Voters, takes a much more neutral stance. And I invited her to come on the program. And I said, if we misspoke about the League of Women Voters, which would have been me misspeaking, I said, if you come on the program, I love to eat a misstatement, and we will give you more than equal time. And Ms. Nichols said, yeah, she wanted to come before the next elections in May, that she might want to come on. So we try to have an open forum. I joke with Ash that when I get vitriolic or, err on the side of saying, well, this is stupid, I remind myself that I only have an hour. I can't sit there all day like Charlie Kirk did and say, well, tell me why you think LeBron's the greatest ever. I don't have an hour to do it. And I was listening to the Wilkow majority yesterday on Breitbart. Andrew Wilkow really just summarily dismissed large groups of people. Well, they're stupid and they're idiots. And I thought, well, he's nationally syndicated. If he can do it, at least I'm just telling the truth.
Greg Garcia I want your reaction to this, Woodrow. He says he's tired of the pundits saying it's a both sides issue. The Charlie Kirk assassination made the case that it's definitely not. That seems to be where the media is trying to go with this, that, well, there's violent people on both sides. And remember, they, completely destroyed Donald Trump when he tried to make a both sides argument in 2020. But Greg's comments about this is a both sides issue, because I don't recall right wingers, Republicans going out and trying to assassinate anybody.
I guess my feeling is, why does it matter? Who cares which side it is? Violence is bad and it's wrong, period.
Right.
Why do we have to put buts and whataboutisms into all of our expressions of condolences? Can't we just say, as I think y'all have, I think as many others have, this was a terrible act. This was totally unacceptable. We're praying for his family, which is, by the way, what President Obama, what President Biden, what Jeffries, what all these Democratic leaders did. They all made, and you mentioned Bernie Sanders,
Sure.
They made these statements without the buts, without the whataboutisms. Why can't we just get to that place? Why is everything a scoring thing? Their side, our side, their side killed two of ours. Their side killed one of ours. Their side killed one of ours. Their side killed three of ours.
Absolutely.
Why is that the conversation? And I'm so disgusted, again, by some of the local leaders of the Democratic Party here in Victoria.
The lack of leaders.
They are not releasing statements of condolences. They're spending hour upon hour on Facebook threads saying, see, he was indoctrinated by MAGA. See, ha, 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 a point for our side.
Craziness.
That's their barometer. And that, I don't think, wins elections, as you've said many times.
Absolutely.
And number two, it does not maintenance democracy.
Well, and the other side of that is, if you look at Bernie Sanders, who, and I just want to see your expression, I refer to as an unashamed communist. Bernie Sanders is a communist. And for him to reference, Ash, in the video that he did, he referenced democracy so many times. In fact, Yeah, because I kept I looked for the but. I looked for the whataboutism. He brought up January 6th, but he also brought up the Hortmans being shot.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to give him that tit for tat. I'm going to give him that. And his comments were concise and they were thorough and they were, I hate to say it, they were statesmanlike. And Bernie Sanders just said, if you believe in democracy, you must believe in the civil discourse and the discussions, because without it, we have no democracy. He didn't even say you have, because I know he's a communist and you know he's a communist.
He
and
would
he's
say
like,
socialist probably, but
yeah, well, yeah, but
hairs.
but he was like, we must communicate. I've got friends. I've got a great friend. The guy lives he lives in Austin until he makes enough money during the year in real estate that he knows he's going to pay more in taxes. And then he goes and lives at his place in Colorado, but he's just so caring, such a deep thinker. And so he's just so sincere. And he unfriended me when Trump got elected in 2016. I haven't talked to the man in 9 years. I just can't believe I can no longer. It was this moral and intellectual superiority that allowed him to say, I just can't communicate with you anymore.
That is what's absolutely killing us. These social media companies are making billions off of our rage, Brent, and they are weaponizing our rage. They're creating the algorithms. They're creating the environment where we are more disconnected, more angry at each other. If I read one more Facebook post that says, well, if you find just go ahead and unfriend me now.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, what? Oh my gosh, why does it matter?
Define friendship. Were we
Right.
ever friends?
Right. I mean,
Well, you know what's funny? What I've noticed, at least on my own Facebook group, those that have unfriended me lean politically to the left. I've unfriended one person because he actually attacked me personally on some things, and I said enough with you.
I didn't mean it that way. I don't know why. We don't have to be friends on Facebook
No,
to
we
do a
don't.
radio
No, we don't.
show.
We don't know.
You know, I've got an analogy for you because you're a big history guy. I see if there's ever a quote unquote like civil eruption, I see the left going down like this. It would be like San Jacinto. The conservatives will come into the camp and all the Democrats and leftists would be slain because they couldn't agree on what to wear. They just couldn't agree on which outfit to wear.
it's that, and it's the hyperbolic, right now, at least in our history, the hyperbolic rhetoric of the left. Again, every day they post, democracy is in shambles. Our freedoms are under attack. And I'm just wondering, where do these people live that they're so horribly under attack?
Right.
Have they been to totalitarian regimes
Never.
like North Korea and China? Do they have any idea what the word totalitarian and fascist mean? And I wonder, it's words that get likes on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
And they get attention, and then they stir the pot. And what I'm afraid of, Brent, it stirs the pot for the next act of political violence.
That's right.
And if our goal is to have less political violence and more dialogue, then that kind of tactic is not going to help.
Well, Jordan Glass asked, why didn't the right just go peacefully protest in these crazy left cities and burn them down?
Yeah, peacefully protest, you know.
But
But you know, when you look at
what they do,
when you look at the word fascist, I mean, it's counterintuitive that a man like Donald Trump is decentralizing power out of DC,
Right.
shoving things back on the states. Maybe we don't need a Department of Education.
Right.
Maybe we don't need FEMA. We'll still give you the money, but you guys decide where to use it. It's the opposite of fascism. Fascism is gathering up all the power, centralizing it in the federal government.
That, Brent, and as you and I have talked about on this show and other places, it's an ignorance of history. This idea that no American president has ever acted in this way, really? Andrew Johnson right before Lincoln. Chester Arthur. People are like, there was a president, Chester Arthur. Yeah, look it up. People don't have long-term memories. They live in the here and now and think the here and now is the worst ever, is the most terrible thing ever. And that hyperbolic rhetoric absolutely erodes our democratic process.
Wow. I asked AI, what is an example of a fascist?
Good.
Hitler, Mussolini, Franco in Spain, Pinochet in Chile. Those are the names that
Those
come
are
up.
high
Jerry
bars,
Jones,
Ash.
Jerry Jones.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
But if you go back, if you look back,
But Donald Trump doesn't show up in AI, which surprised me.
no, he owns AI. If you go back to Abraham Lincoln, we glorify Lincoln. We love Lincoln. I've been blessed to spend enough time in D.C. to realize and confirm half the country hated that dude's guts.
Probably more than half.
And half of them wanted him dead at a time when people were still willing to have gunfights in the streets. You go to John F. Kennedy. I can remember it being a big deal when I was in elementary school that, John F. Kennedy was our first Catholic president. Oh, what a tragedy. He was a Catholic because the country's Protestant. Now, nobody even cares. We don't know what religion Donald Trump is. We don't. We believe he's a Christian, but we don't know what religion he is. Nobody cares.
I ask myself, Brett, maybe you ask yourself this question too. What is more important, winning an argument and showing that somebody else is wrong and I score a point, or having a relationship with that person?
Yeah, certainly winning the argument, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm kidding.
But
I'm
I
kidding.
think one of the things that you and I have different political views, but at the end of the day, we're more concerned with preserving a relationship.
Well, we're
dialogue.
friends. And here's what I'm convinced of. I respect you on a number of levels. I respect you, I think, most for your willingness to walk away from your passion, which are your more liberal than mine, Democrat beliefs. You were willing to walk away from that for the sake of your character. And I respect you for that most. That friendship born of observation allows me to welcome your differing ideas, and between us we can forge a better path forward.
Absolutely.
Together.
That has to be the model if we're going to maintenance democracy in a healthy way. Posting things on Facebook, whataboutisms and buts, and worrying about whether this shooter was indoctrinated by MAGA, that is not helping the situation.
And he was 22 years old, right? He's at an age of accountability. He can make his own decisions. I mean,
now we're finding out that there were quite a few people who may have known about this ahead of time from posts that he was making on various social media sites and dark websites and things like that. Again, apparently his roommate / partner is cooperating. The shooter apparently is not. Kelly Frommy asks, regarding the whataboutisms of the Hortmans killing, why didn't you post your mourning and sadness when they were killed? Well, and she points it out well. We didn't know, admire, and follow the Hortmans. They weren't on our radar. They were in Minnesota. We talked a little bit about it on here.
Can I just answer that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly, for bringing that up. I have been accused of the last few days continuously about Professor Wagner, your outrage seems to be non-proportional. You seem to only focus on the Republican conservative things and not the liberal. My response. So I didn't post on the Speaker of Minnesota being assassinated. Does that mean I don't think it's terrible? I led a prayer group at my church about it. I did a lot of other things behind the scenes that are not posted on Facebook.
Wow, but if it doesn't happen on social, if they don't post it on social media, it didn't happen.
It's not Facebook official.
Live their lives through the lens of social media.
That's right.
And they don't live a real life. And as we tell our students, social media is an artificial construct of reality. It's not real. So,
That's right.
Yeah, I guess if you audited my Facebook page, Brett, you would see some things I did comment and some I didn't. But does that mean I don't care as much as the Minnesota Speaker? Absolutely not.
Really good point pointed out by Leah Hall. They were not live on TV when it happened.
Well, and it's just, again, does it matter? Why are we keeping score? Why is keeping score so important?
It's still
both
equally
were terrible.
It's terrible that they were killed.
It was tragedy on both sides. Could I have written more in the Victoria Advocate or whatever? I guess. Does that mean then I would have made it proportional?
But nobody would have read it.
But
and people get so upset about Donald Trump not making a big deal about the Hortmans. And I made the comment, there's 154 people in the Texas House. You want Donald Trump to personally know, oh, by the way, people from another party in one of the 50 states, he does, and I'm not trying to be rude, but at the end of the day, he's like, it's a state legislator. I don't know those people.
All of it's horrible, and we have to keep We have to stop keeping score about, well, Professor Wagner only posted on this and Brent only liked that and Ash only liked that. That is getting us nowhere. That is what the social media algorithm wants us to do. It wants to feed and foster that hate and division.
That's right.
Because it profits from it. But as human beings, we have the capacity to break that cycle.
That's exactly right.
Hard to believe Facebook has gone from something that Zuckerberg created to try to pick up girls in college to where it is today.
Seen him? He needed that distance between him and a young woman. He couldn't walk up and just talk to her, and he needed to be able to text her. Julie Flesher says, we've become a society that believes if it's posted to social media, it has to be true.
And the people that post on social media, I've been guilty of it. You're presenting an image that isn't reality of your own lives. This is where we are.
This is now the challenge, as you know, Ash, of education, whether it be elementary or higher ed. We have got to teach our students to be enlightened, critical thinkers. I don't, Brent, tell my students what to think. I try to teach them how to think 100%. And to build their own crap detector. And the media is not going to build the crap detector for them. They have to do it.
Well, the media has stopped asking the who, the what, the where, and most importantly, the why.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. And the how should be in there as well. But the why is no longer asked by our media. They don't care. And that is such a important part of being able to think critically. Why is somebody doing this?
3 great points back to back. Bill Booker says, I'm on Facebook a lot, but if it disappeared tomorrow, we would be better off. Daniel Bird says, Dems don't want to keep score when they're in the spotlight, but use it when it benefits their ideology. He says that's sad but true. And Junior says the Advocate would not put it in the paper, and only Bill Posey reads the paper anyway.
I read the paper.
There's the two.
You only read it when your articles
are the only
in there.
ones reading the paper.
Nobody else reads that.
Bill reads it for everybody else who listens to his show.
Barbara, I love Barbara. She comes in with the all the articles from the paper.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yes. Bill gets online in the morning. Bill's such an old school guy, and he's got his computer, right? So we have a bunch of windows open at the top of the screen. We could go to any one of the stories. Bill will find a story and then print it. I'm like, Bill, you're on at 6:15 in the morning. What time do you get up to read everything? And
seriously.
He's got he's killing a tree a day. He kills a tree a day just to go through.
He's keeping Georgia Pacific in business.
He literally is just like throwing like this. It's from the Epic Times. I can't find it.
God bless you, Bill.
Unbelievable, that guy.
Should we take our final break?
Yeah, you got time?
I do.
What time's your first class?
It is not until 9:30.
Kids, we're going to hold him, and maybe you're going to walk. Remember a walk? He's 5 minutes late. We're out of here.
He's being held hostage.
Unbelievable. Where do you start, Ash?
I started Allen's Record Service, 578-6300, the only one we call when we need a tow.
That's a true story.
Should be the only one you call when you need a tow.
They're the very best. The dollar floor store for all your flooring needs, laminates, hardwoods, tile, carpet, whatever you need.
Stop by see Tamara today.
Equal opportunity supplier. They don't care what you're polluting. If you want blue carpet, come get it. White Trash Services, White Trash Site Services, BJ Nelson and her team, 550-1826. Reach out to the great folks, the phone with a person on the other end. Call today, get your service. If you're in the counties, call them. Chestnut Furniture, Chestnut and Lovemaker House of Home. Get by and see why you just always do better at Chestnut. For over 105 years, Bobby Leon's family, and now Bobby, he's first started out selling dinettes over there in a diaper.
In his diapers, yep.
Now he uses more than hand signals, and he can help you buy what you need. Parvita Wellness and the Vita Cafe. If you haven't tried the new Vita Cafe, Erica Briggs is already adopting, and evolving her menu to keep the Vita Cafe fresh. You're not going to get stuck with the same. We have restaurants in town. You know them. Same menu every day. Vita Cafe, changing to meet your demands. Go by and see them today. And they're right there they're on Nursery Road, right there by Detar North. It's the best way to describe it, right? Yep.
Just off Main.
There you go.
Inside the loop.
Ads and Offer and adsandoffer.com. Reach out. Go by and see Tommy Taylor. He's the new dealership principal. Super nice gentleman. He says, please tell your listeners to come in and ask for me.
Yeah, if you're looking for a car to get the family around this fall to all the various sporting events, lots of Tahoes and Suburbans on the lot right
They've
now.
got them. Go by and see them. And then Wentz Services, Win Electrical for all your generator needs. They're a preferred Generac generator need, made right here in the USA. Generac is the automatic turnkey generator you need to get by.
Abbreviated First State Bank Astros update. Astros win 6-3 over the Rangers. Half game back of the Mariners. Mariners back in action tonight. Rangers and Astros, game 2 of that 3-game set. There we go.
Astros play good. Zach King Cole, they're calling him. The kid hit a 2-run shot last night. He had a 4-for-4 night on Friday. The kid is a player. Yordan Alvarez, crossing home plate, put his foot down and kind of twisted his ankle pretty good. They say it's just a temporary sprain. What I find interesting about that is
he gets hurt doing more menial tasks in baseball than anybody.
Right, he's
else.
cutting his grapes in half and lops off a thumb. The truth is, if he was an NFL player, they would have given him some cortisone and wrapped his ankle, and he'd have been back in for the second half. In baseball, he's day-to-day out 3 to 6 weeks. But Yordan Alvarez, they did an x-ray, said it was just a sprain. He'll be back. The kid comes in and goes like 2 for 3 with a 2-run bomb and a key hit. Astros score late. Jeremy Pena scores a run. We end up winning, I think, 5-6-3. 6-3. But not before Okert and King pitched well. And then Brian Abreu, trying to fill the closer role, comes in, gets 2 outs, and then like walks a pair, right? And I'm like, come on. Get me a 3rd out.
Doesn't have that closer mentality.
No, he doesn't.
That's who we have left. Kelly Fromme says that crap detector means go look up the whole article, the different sides, clip, and segment, and use only parts of statements. Context has been lost in a lot of the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. This is where, and Brent and I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but over the weekend, I noticed how badly Charlie Kirk's comments were being taken out of context. The Second Amendment one seemed to be the big one that floated out there. Well, gun deaths are acceptable in order to preserve our Second Amendment right. Not what he was saying at all. But when you take it out of context, that's what happens.
Kelly makes an excellent point.
She often
makes it. But Kelly, you're so right about this context. In fact, I'm doing an exercise with my public policy class right now about media literacy and context of quotes. Because just think about this last week. How many quotes have been thrown about? You post quotes, Brett. I post. Ash, Kylie post.
Sure.
Everybody post. But then you have to take a step back with the crap detector and say, what is the context of that? Why did Charlie say that? And when you start taking that view, you're like, oh, well, maybe Charlie's not a fascist. Maybe he's not Hitler after all. But again, that doesn't feed the adrenaline of the rage. That's the problem.
Here was the quote. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have a Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That's what they took and ran with it on the left over the weekend. I'm not going to read the whole thing, because he was asked a question about the Second Amendment and went into how it's not about hunting, which the left makes the Second Amendment about all the time. It's not even about personal defense. It's important because it protects you from a government trying to take government from the people.
You notice, Ash, when you make that refutation, and I don't know if it was you or somebody posted the whole thing, people get real quiet.
It was me.
Crickets. And they move on to the next rage.
Well, you know, I heard
sad.
I had 8 comments on that post and only 33 likes or hearts but I'm sure people read it and realized, oh crap, this just debunked my whole Charlie Kirk wants people to die so he can have a gun.
Well, one of the ones that they lean on, is that Kirk supposedly maligned Michelle Obama and several others, AOC, whoever, and said, clearly you don't have the brain power to do what, you had to take somebody else's slot to do it. And if you just go back 2 minutes into that video, he's actually saying, if you believe that DEI is necessary then you're the kind of person who wants to say this about Michelle Obama. Sure, we've got to give her a leg up because she's not smart enough to do it on her own. She needs to take a white person's slot. They just took that one snippet. He was mocking
Absolutely.
and when you listen to that kind of stuff, you realize what it makes me really leery about is AI.
Well, sure.
I think that over time, you can take his videos with your hateful heart and make them to where this is what he said. I got it on video.
I think where he erred in that whole context of that clip was trying to compare the Second Amendment to driving, whereas driving is a privilege and the Second Amendment is one of our inalienable rights. But I think, to me, I've talked to a few people about this. I said, to me, it's more like having the ability to go and swim in a lake. People drown every year swimming in a lake, but we don't go and take the lakes away from people or the access to those lakes away because
Joe Biden did.
That's
we couldn't have July 4th.
Chris Christie did.
Chris Christie took the whole ocean away. Of course, he needed the entire ocean. There's no single lake big enough for Chris Christie.
Well, Chris Christie gets into the water, and now we're finding out that because of him going into the water, Australia's seas are going to rise.
Seas are going to rise by 2050. They said, this is so funny, right? How many times in your life have you heard this? Australian seas to rise 1.5 feet by 2050.
Wow.
That's the latest
it's
one.
Chris Christie.
Yeah, Chris Christie. It's called the Christie effect.
Yeah.
What did Julie say there?
Because I remember as an IT major in college, a class discussion on social media in its infancy with the ability to comment on news stories, how society would be impacted by giving anyone absence of real knowledge, skills, or abilities the avenue to deliver their opinions. I can remember shaking my head saying it's not going to be good. Many people didn't think it would last.
How did we even get by before you had like the Tinder thing where you could swipe? You know, how did people meet people before social media?
You actually had to talk to them.
Coming back around, that I've heard positive reviews regarding the interaction among young students now that they can't just all walk down the hall with their phones in their
hands. As
hands.
an educator, what do you feel about those types of policies in high school?
I think we need more policies that encourage real life interactions. These students, if they're conditioned from the age of 5 to always have a device in their hand, that is going to affect their capacity to contribute to the larger workforce and society. Forget when they're 5, when they're 18, when they're 19, when they're 20 years old. So again, critical thinking is everything. Building the crap detector is everything.
So the difference. COVID made it okay for me to send you an email as opposed to sending you a birthday card.
Absolutely.
It did. But you still know the importance and the weight and the feeling it gives you when someone sends you a handwritten note. It matters. They took the time to sit down and write you something.
We are teaching that in our classes. I teach a class called Professional Communication,
Amen.
and I talk about the art of the personal follow-up handwritten note. And for some of these students, it's like, do what now? You want me to write?
But I tell my
part
kids,
of the problem with some of that, though, like I get emails from job applicants thanking for the opportunity. If they actually took the time to write a note and drop it in the mail, I may have already made the decision on the hiring. That's how
well, that's
expeditiously
a postal system issue, but it's the thought that counts.
It is.
But you know what else is? I tell my kids, I'll say, reach out to so-and-so and see if you can get a ride tomorrow. And they get their phone and they start texting. He hasn't answered me yet. And I said, there's going to be billionaires made in your lifetime because they're willing to pick up the phone.
Absolutely.
Call somebody.
Absolutely.
Tell them the way you feel. I've had Caden, especially the 17-year-old, he's had disagreements with girls over, well, it came out wrong in text. I go, it won't come out wrong if you call her and tell her.
Because context is lost.
You made this point, I think, yesterday on the show. Y'all make it constantly. Why don't people come on shows like this? If they disagree, if they have problems, why don't they come and have a conversation instead of just writing rants on social media and liking? What is it going to cost them personally to stand right here and have a real life conversation? Will they think their friends won't like them? Will they not be invited to the next exclusive party where they can all pose on their pictures?
Right.
I mean, what is the hang up that we can't have
Cody's sugar?
dialogue?
That's the problem.
Yeah, it goes back almost 9 years now that we had a really heated, but they didn't know that we were friends. Anyway, had a heated discussion with Cody live on Magic, basically like 8 people watching at the time about a school bond. But I can tell you without exception, and because of that interaction, we have absolutely gone overboard to make sure that someone with a differing view feels comfortable. I just don't understand
the fact, Brent, that you bring up Bernie Sanders. I mean, people just need to stop and think about that for a second.
Yeah.
If Brent was such a whatever super MAGA conservative, not listening to other points of view, why would he now 2 days in a row bring up Senator Sanders in this comment and have complimentary things to say about it? See, when the things don't fit into the narrative, people seem to ignore them.
Well, that's the other thing that you can do when you actually have the ability to understand and have dialogue with people and not be so, so unbendable. You can actually agree with Bernie on this one. You don't have to agree with Bernie on 99% of everything else he talks about, but in this case, he makes some sense.
Timmy Williams says a class needs to be taught on 20 and under kids how to interact with real facial expressions. Some of these kiddos are robots. The truth is they will never need Botox though. They're just flaccid.
But that's a thing. Even with our online classes, we are insisting they turn the camera on. And when you teach an online speech class, you've got to turn the freaking camera on, and you've got to be able to. All those facial expressions matter. All those nonverbals matter.
You can say so much with nonverbal.
I know a high school teacher that during the COVID pandemic, pandemic, whatever, gave an F if you didn't turn your camera on when they were doing online learning. And boy,
there you go.
You didn't get the first class, half the class. He told me this first class. Lots of people, they didn't believe me. I told them, if you don't turn your camera on, you'll get an F on this assignment. The next class, no cameras off.
We need more of that.
We've reached the top of the hour. It's always great to have you on, sir. And I hope we've been visiting all this time with Woodrow Wilson Wagner. And I love your writing. You've softened my my liberal heart. You know what I mean? You've made me stop and think about now how we get some of these things done. We still need to work on together. But at the same time, I know, and you know, that if I have a question, I'll call you. And you've always been dutiful to take the time to educate me, and I appreciate your heart.
We can disagree without being disagreeable. I think y'all do this on this show, and I would invite others who might not agree with everything that's said to come on this show and have the dialogue. Don't just write rants on Facebook for your friends that are only going to see it. Have dialogues with someone that you don't agree with. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for being here. Folks, it's the top of the hour. We're going to cut out. Special shout out. Good morning, Donnie. I love you, baby. And thank you for putting up with me. I met her 9 years ago tomorrow, Ash, and I married her 8 years ago today. I did not waste any time.
You did not.
So, amen. Love you, sweetheart. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.
Well,